Hello, fellow cat enthusiasts. My name is Dr. Kara Caldwell, and I've been a feline-only veterinarian since 2011. Today I want to talk to you about some 4th of July hazards you might not have heard about before, and what to do if you come across them, ways to treat it, and other ways to avoid them. So today I'm going to have plenty of tips and tricks for you, so get your notebook handy, and let's go. So first, let's start with the obvious, fireworks. Fireworks will pose two potential hazards for cats. One is burns, and the other is noise-related anxiety or escape from the house. If your cat does suffer a burn, immediately flush the area with cool running water for about 15 minutes, dry the area by patting it if you can, and apply a sterile dressing and go right to the vet. The reason why, even if it seems minor, you want to go right to the vet, if you've ever had a burn, they hurt. They could use some pain meds at the very least. But burns can be really hard to assess as far as if they're 1st degree, 2nd degree, or 3rd degree without the trained eye. So a 1st degree, you might be able to get away with home care and first aid, but the 2nd and 3rd degree burns may need surgical debridement, antibiotics, or more advanced care. So definitely head to the vet if you have any sort of burn. You can get burns from something silly, like a sparkler. So even if it's not a big firework, something to consider. The best way, of course, to avoid that kind of scenario in the first place would be to keep your cat inside during parties and fireworks. To prevent them from escaping, keep them in an indoor room like a bedroom. That way they not only have to get through that bedroom door to get outside, but then they have the outside door, as opposed to leaving them just in the house in general. If you do leave them in a bedroom or similar room, make sure that you give them a litter box, you give them blankets or bedding, as well as toys or something to do. In that room, do make sure that all the windows are closed so that the sound is not nearly as troublesome to them. And close the blinds so that the firework lights are not as disturbing to them. Do put a sign on the outside of the door if you're having guests come over, so that even if you tell them when they first walk in the door that your cat's in the bedroom, they may forget, as part of a party, things happen during a party. So if you have that sign on the door, it's just another way to remind them that the cat's in the room and to be careful in case they do go that way. Another thing to do is to talk to your vet about possibly getting situational anxiety medications like gabapentin. So these medications are designed to be used in short term, so they're fine to use 2 or 3 hours before the party starts as a way to kind of just take the edge off so that your cat might be a little less reactive if there is an issue. If you do plan on leaving the windows open, like let's say you don't have air conditioning, you feel like you don't have a choice, and shutting the windows is going to create a problem, do push on the screens in your windows before assuming that they're secured and okay. So gently push on them, just make sure that they're not going to easily fall out if your cat gets scared and bounces off of them, or if your cat's sleeping in them, they do that violent jump back off of it, and it doesn't make the screen go flying out of the window. Another thing to do, just in case your cat does get out, whether it's through the window or a door, microchip your pet if they are not microchipped already. So a microchip provides a permanent way that can't really fall out to make sure that we can identify your cat if it is found. Don't rely on a collar. Collars can come off on a tree branch or get loose and just come off, or they get old. Things happen. So don't just solely rely on a collar and, put a collar on and assume if your cat gets outside, it'll stay on, and when they get picked up, they'll still have the collar on. If your pet is already microchipped, call the company and just make sure your information is up to date. Don't assume. I have come across a few cats where we've scanned them and we are able to get either the shelter's information that they came from, but the shelter no longer has your information, or we are able to find your old information, but we cannot contact you because the phone number's out of service, or you've moved and the address is wrong, or a combination of both. We've definitely have seen that. And it feels terrible when we know this cat is clearly owned and loved by somebody, but we're not able to get them back home. So definitely make sure that that information is up to date with the company that manufactures your microchip. So another thing I do want to talk about are things like insect repellents. So insect repellents are also potentially not safe for your cat, even some of the more natural ones. For example, citronella. So you do want to keep citronella away from your cats. It's not a very talked about toxin, and it can cause significant respiratory disease, as well as vomiting, diarrhea, drooling, skin irritation, and nauseousness. Even exposure to the plant can cause all these things if they chew on it. A better natural mosquito repellent in that case would be catnip, actually. So a study just came out, I'm going to put it on the screen, a link to it, in 2024 that did show that there was a significant decrease in mosquito biting with catnip oil that was applied to the skin. And I actually did the same study in high school biology, so I found this study very interesting. And I found the same result, that catnip is a great repellent. Yeah, I was a cat nerd back then too. A quick word of caution about catnip. Do not use it in its more concentrated essential oil form. Too much of a good thing can be toxic too. Instead, use the live catnip plant. Insect repellents that contain permethrin and permethroids should also be avoided. They usually will be labeled as not safe for cats, potentially. They are safe for dogs. Permethrins are in some dog flea and tick products, for example. So just definitely read those labels and make sure that they don't have anything in there. Those active ingredients are really important. Speaking of toxins, a few other toxins that you might come across at a picnic or 4th of July party are toxins related to food. So the food-based toxins that might be in a picnic are onions, garlic, chocolate, avocado, alcohol, and grapes. So use food covers for any dishes that might have that, because not only will they keep the flies out, they hopefully will keep your cat away too, or from any accidental exposure. Even better, keep your cat out of that room or, where the food is being kept in. But if you need to, or if they're out and about anyway, at least use those food covers. Onions and garlic and other things in the allium family, plant family, can cause anemia, trouble breathing, and weakness, especially if in larger amounts or concentrated, like if it's powdered garlic, for example, they got into. So go to the vet if your cat has ingested anything in the allium family. If you Google it, you should be able to find a list, and I'll put a list up also. Another thing is chocolate toxicity. So chocolate toxicity in cats, very similar to dogs, depends on the amount ingested. And the darker the chocolate, the less ingestion that you need to have worse effects. So for example, if your cat does ingest dark chocolate or baker's chocolate, they need a much smaller amount to have a toxic reaction compared to milk chocolate. Similar to in dogs, they can cause increases in heart rate, arrhythmias, heart failure, seizures, vomiting, and diarrhea. So if your cat has ingested chocolate, again, see your vet. Larger amounts of avocado meat, the skin, the leaves, and the pit can contain persin, which is the toxic compound in avocado. Persin can cause respiratory distress and cardiovascular effects. The meat sometimes has lower persin, so it tends to be less of an issue, but even ingesting that can cause some diarrhea, vomiting, or trigger pancreatitis because of the high fat levels. So I would just recommend staying away from avocado completely for a cat. Alcohol poisoning actually appears in them very similar to us, except they are not able to metabolize it nearly as well as we are, so they tend to need less to have the same effects. So it can cause incoordination, the wobbly walk, seizures, tremors, coma, death. So definitely want to stay away from that alcohol. Grape toxicity in cats, similar to dogs, can also cause kidney failure. So if you suspect your cat has ingested grapes, get your cat to the vet right away so fluid therapy can be started so that it can support the kidneys and get them through that potential kidney injury. The problem with grapes is that any individual animal, cat or dog, may be more sensitive to the toxicity than another animal. So, we aren't sure if it's going to take one grape to cause the kidney failure in your cat versus another cat who might be able to eat 1 or 2 grapes without an issue. We don't know. So it's better to be safe and get your cat to the vet and start intravenous fluids right away and just assume that every cat and dog has a significant issue with grapes. One last thing to talk about as far as food goes. While not a toxin, cooked bones can also cause tears in your cat's gastrointestinal tract when they're ingested, so keep them away from the chicken wings. So hopefully, you learned some things here, things to do if there are any issues at home during your picnic or summer party. To be safe, just keep your cat inside with their favorite bedding, their toys, and a litter box. Keep everything close by. Keep your local emergency clinic's phone number on the fridge and their address so that if something does happen, you're not scrambling to try to Google that. Or if you're in somebody else's house, and you don't have access to their Wi-Fi, keep it around. Keep it in your purse, keep it in your pocket, keep a little card in your wallet. And keep all your food covered, whether it's at a picnic or, you're preparing it at home. And I hope you enjoy the holidays.